exactly is web shop gaming?
My understanding, web shop gaming is the sale of the, we could commonly call the number selling. And I understand as well that there are some other games involved, what they call spinning. I guess that's some sort of online.
I think the slots.
Online slot machine.
Poker.
Okay.
So a vote on question number 1 would be that web shop gaming would cover.
I think whatever,
vote yes would be
vote yes would be, you would, vote yes would be for the regulation and taxation of web shop gaming, meaning the games that the web shop sells, be it the numbers that are attached to the foreign lottery, the Florida and I guess the Chicago and New York and the others, as well as whatever else they do inside there.
Would a national, the terminology national lottery, in question number 2, would that cover games like poker, blackjack?
I think the understanding is that a national lottery would be what we commonly know as this weekly draw of lottery numbers, perhaps a daily draw of lottery numbers, and within, when you look at lotteries around the world, within that as well, there are some other games that are covered. And I think as we go along, it could very well be that you start with a weekly drawing, move to maybe a daily drawing, and then, as people come forward, perhaps suggesting other games that can be included under national lottery.
Can it not operate exactly the same way the web shops operate right now?
A national lottery?
Yes.
I think potentially it can, to the extent that you just won't have, I don't think a national lottery is restricted to just what we commonly know as this weekly drawing.
Right.
Right, in other places, I guess when you go down to the southern Caribbean where they have national lotteries, they have this weekly drawing and then they have some other games, incorporated. So there could be a potential where a national lottery can include some of what is going on now in the web shops.
Okay. So last week there was an article in the paper, and this will come under you as Minister of State for Finances. The Prime Minister would have said that if a vote yes on the web shops were to come back, that would not be sufficient taxes to deal with the financial challenges that we have in the country. Wouldn't a national lottery bring in more revenue for the country?
There's 2 schools of thought here. If you first to the question that you asked, estimates go from as high as $40 million. As just, if you say, okay, web shops, they're bringing in around $400 million in turnover, that's what they're turning over, and if you say theoretically, if you tax them at 10%, that's $40 million.
Right.
That's assuming that the number 400 is correct.
Exactly.
So when he says, it might be 20, he's being conservative to say, well, okay, in case we don't get, 40, but he says it won't be enough because we have a lot of other challenges. Right. So let's say an additional 20 million, additional 40 million won't solve all the financial problems of the country. I think that's what he's talking about. Now, you said the national lottery might be able to bring in more than the web shops. I assume you mean, like, for example, if the government is operating it,
yes,
they can operate it and collect all the turnover and the profits instead of just the taxation.
Right.
That's one school of thought. The other school is that you have that if you leave it to the private sector through their smartness, their ingenuity, they are able to run the industry, and so the government doesn't have to get involved in setting up another bureaucracy to say, okay, setting up a national lottery, which is in addition to the civil service, which we have to run. One school is, okay, just let the private sector run it and we'll do taxation. I think what you're asking is, well, the government can run it and take all the profits. That's a school of thought, and I think when it's all done, then we can decide, okay, which one we're going to do, or if we can do a combination of both. But I think that's part of the thinking, is that this is an industry that grew up, albeit illegally,
right.
because of people who went in and used technology and used their imagination and did this industry.
Right.
And so the feeling is, okay, they know more about it than the government would. So should the government just let them either regulate it, the government takes some taxation, or do you go and set up a separate system and run it yourself?
Right. But my train of thought is, if we were to use the model that we have now, where the government owns the casinos and they lease them out to the private sector, I'm thinking that it can operate the same way. The Vote Yes campaign said that they profit $70 million. $70 million. That's, if we go by their figures, I think, and it's safe to say that if it was owned by the government,
Yeah.
that we would get
70 million. in
that we would have
profits.
70
Yeah.
million in profit.
That's one school. You know, again, something to look at. But you know, there's another school of thought that says, you know, the private sector, they're more efficient. They'll run their things much better than us. And who's to say the government can be as profitable? But I think, you know, no matter what happened, well, if there's a yes on the 28th,
Right.
then
Yes to
you
which
know,
one?
Yes to, let's say, web, or yes to lottery, or yes to both, or you know, if there's a yes, then the government has to sit down and say, okay, well, this is the model that we're going to use.
Right.
You know?
Well, with that train of thought, why doesn't the government now give the casinos? Why doesn't the casinos own? Sorry, why doesn't the private hotels? Why don't they own their casinos right now? With that train of thought.
Well, I guess when it was set up back in, when they ever did, but that was back in the 60s when they did casino gambling. I think the way it's set up now is that I think the government even owns all of the machines, and then so there's this sort of regime. I think that's at that time, given what was going on in those days, this would have been in the mid to late 60s. I think when casino gambling was brought in. That must have been what they thought was a good regime then. Again, that was almost 50 years ago, so maybe now it's time to look. You know, people will tell you that, for example, in Singapore, they have 2 casinos and they make $1 billion. And we have this model. We have this model
in Singapore.
I think it's private sector owned. I'm not certain. But you know, recently we had a group, a delegation from the gaming board and from the legal department go and look and see what they are doing. Because apparently they're making, you know, a lot more. But definitely they're making a lot more money. I don't know what.
You mean the government is making a lot of money?
Yeah, the government is. So I don't know if that's pure taxation. I don't know if just is because they have so many more people playing or what. But the point I'm making is, you know, that regime for casinos was set up in the 60s. Maybe it is time to look at it.
Look at it.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
All right.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.